And we're
Oh
going to
God.
start with wins. I'm going to ask you to keep your wins to 2 minutes or less. Lisa, go.
Oh, no pressure. Um, Shoot. Where do I go? I have a few. So, okay, I got the beehive. I got my
Yay.
hive a couple days ago. So, I kind of feel like I'm fixing up a nursery for a new baby or something. I don't know. It's just, I'm really excited. So the bees are happening,
That's
and
great.
I'll get them at the end of April for some reason. I don't know why it takes so long, but
That's
at the
okay.
end of April, yeah.
That's when
So,
they're due. That's when the
yeah,
babies are due. That's so
I
great.
guess so.
Congratulations. That's great. Awesome. 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 Good. 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 Laura, what's your win?
I'm here.
That's a great win. Awesome.
That was going to be my win. I swear to you, I'm not kidding. That was going to be my win.
You can both share a win. It's fine. Kathy, what have you got? What's been new and good this week, or what's just been good? It doesn't have to be new.
I'm well. I'm
That's
finally over.
awesome.
I'm finally over the flu and the cough and everything. I was
Yay.
able to go out today for about 5 hours, not feeling just wiped out, and
Yeah.
it just feels so good. And the sun is out. I swear, the sun is out.
Yeah.
We've had nothing but rain.
Yeah.
I have another win.
Yeah, I hear that. That's great. Congratulations. Well, it's interesting, contrast is like when you don't have your health and you're used to being healthy,
Yes.
it really is like, you realize how grateful we have to be. Okay, very good. Joni, do you have a win?
Yeah. So, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm in a mastermind with Dan and Peggy. And last Wednesday, Laura spoke about her Byron Katie work. And I signed up for a session on April the 4th with Laura. And I'm so excited. I'm like studying Byron Katie, doing all my worksheets ahead of time. So I'm super excited about that.
That is so great. Congratulations. Lisa, did you say you have another win? Who said they had another win?
Oh, yeah. So, kind of. No.
Okay. Okay, very good. Hey, we rifled through those in less than 5 minutes. That's so great. Good job, everyone. So this week we're studying.
What's your win, Peggy?
What? My
Oh, yeah.
win? Oh my gosh.
What's your win?
I have a number of good wins. Natasha's finger is on the mend in a big way, and that was not a given. So that's when one of your kids is sick, that's a big one. The second one I have is I skied in like shin deep powder yesterday at Powder Mountain, and it was just exquisite. And I think back and I broke my leg skiing 2 years ago, and this year I started out my ski season crying on the lift, feeling like my boots hurt, my knee hurt, and I can't do it. And now here I was like a pro skiing with my neighbors whom we love. And then today I went out with our neighbors from across the way, Twee and Marcia and Kim, my neighbor down the road, and skied as well. And it just was a really amazing day, and the sun's out, although I think it is supposed to snow again starting tomorrow. The never-ending winter. So those are my wins, but also I'm just really excited about life. I feel really good. I'm just happy to be me. So I'm really happy to be here with you all. This is just fun. Great fun to have everybody here. So we're going to start talking about lesson 8, which is the study for this week, right? How much are you worth? And I loved this lesson. There was so much in here, and it happens to be loosely paralleling the thinking to results, where we're talking about belief. We're talking about lesson 8, praxis, in TIR as well. So belief is such a big thing, and belief in ourselves, belief in who we truly are and what we're truly capable of, and in the universal laws. There's so much that we just are never taught when we are small. And actually, I think we know it when we're small. We just really don't retain it because the people around us haven't retained it. And so therefore it gets drummed out of us. So this lesson is so valuable and so important. And then I wanted to go through it. And if you happen to have your worksheets handy, we're going to dive right in. But in the meantime, has anybody had a chance to listen to the recording or look at the worksheets? Kathy did.
I just did.
What do you
It's-
think, Kathy? What was your feedback on that?
Oh, I loved it. I
Okay.
thought Bob gave a wonderful big picture of what we should be doing, all
Mhm.
the time.
Right.
And how we have to keep growing, balancing our life, learning and challenging ourselves. And yeah, it's a really good lesson.
It's a very powerful. I mean, they all have just a
Yes.
different depth and a different angle than thinking
Yes.
to results, which is also a fabulous program. But what I loved that he covers a number of concepts here. The first concept that we're going to dive right into and we can discuss it, is to your point, Kathy, we have to be growing. We just have to be. Nothing in life is standing still.
That's right.
I truly believe, the more I am around my daughter's friends and my friends' daughters, and myself and looking at my own history, I think there's so much anxiety and angst and depression for many reasons. But I think the primary cause is we don't really understand who we are as individuals and collectively, and we don't understand how life really works, which I think would be a great title. I've been playing around with book titles. I'm like, got all these fancy titles, and I'm like, how about just something straightforward, like how life really works, what they don't teach you in the Ivies or anywhere for that matter, about how to really manage your mental space, your physical space, your spiritual space. I'm not saying religion doesn't cover this or different, groups or thoughts or ideas. But the truth is, back to your point, Lisa, that you said a while ago, where's like your life is the most precious thing you have. And it really doesn't come with a solid owner's manual. I mean, there's different places that we get information and good ideas, and some good paradigms are built. But the main thing that I think is left out is we don't learn how to stay in a constant state of growth and expansion. And in fact, at some point, we're told not to. It's too risky. Don't do that. You'll regret that. What if you fail? And that's again by all well-intending people who are, could be friends, it could be family, it could be your kids, but the truth is, deep inside your heart, when you recognize that you have a desire to be more, to do more, to have more, be it money, be it, in a bigger way in your profession, helping people, leaving a legacy of change and positivity in the world, that knocking on that door never really goes away. It never really goes away. And I believe when we try to shut the door on that or ignore that, at least in my case, that was so true. I knew that my marriage was over and I ignored it for good reasons, socially acceptable, good reasons. Like I had small children. There was a lot of things involved. There was, I was scared. I didn't know what, making a change like that would have really hugely impacted my family. But the truth was, the more I ignored that, the more unhappy I became, the more therapy I needed to have, the more I drank to try to feel better. There was a lot of behaviors that I tried to use to feel better, which is the natural human condition, when in point of fact, I had to make a decision, and it was a hard one. And those are typically the most important ones, right? But we have to make decisions every day. And we need to really think from a framework of a much greater expanded conception of who we are as individuals. Often we think we're our body, or we think our possessions or our station in life, things like that. The truth is, you and I are infinite beings. We're infinite beings. Bob used to say we're made by the Creator in His image. And what is there that God can't do? Nothing, right? Created everything. So, if you go to, Bob talks about this, if you go to theology, the theologians will say everything that ever was, God is in and of itself, always ever present, everywhere at all times. If you go to the scientists, they say energy is in and of itself, neither created nor destroyed. And so everything's already here, and we are born into this life to create the life that we want. And the truth is, we're always creating the life that we have, but are we doing it consciously? So I wanted to use that preamble just to put you in the mood of this, to say that in the absence of clearly defined goals, we find ourselves strangely enslaved to the day to day. And we're going to talk more about this, but I think that was a Robert Heinlein quote. He said, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we find ourselves strangely enslaved to the day-to-day activities. And then we lose track of why we're even doing what we're doing, right? We do it because it's part of the habit, it's part of the paradigm. So the playbook for this is relatively simple and straightforward. What makes it challenging is our paradigms are pretty sticky, meaning they don't go quietly into the night. So I want you to think about and just reflect, not in a judgmental way, but how and where can you move into a more growth-oriented positionality? And as I say that doesn't even really capture it. It's not how and where. It's just switching, flipping a switch to say, every day in every way, I get better and better. Every day in every way, I look for areas of growth. Now, what do we know about growth? What did we learn in thinking into results about when you get a new idea, a new big idea that you want to do, something more than you are, bigger, better? What's going to happen?
Terror barrier.
That's right. Lisa gets a virtual star. Absolutely. You're going into the unknown. You don't have a conception of yourself as that person. So naturally, you are going to be like, what if I fail? But what they bring us to in here is helping us to see this, that we have to start to see ourselves in the position of having what we want, of feeling that we have what we want. Start to build the image, because we always think in images, right? And this brings us right to this lesson, to page 3. We exist on 3 planes. We're spiritual beings, we have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. Most people do that the other way around. First of all, they only live on the physical plane. They try to change, as Joe Dispenza says, matter by changing matter, by using matter on a physical plane. They're trying to manipulate, not in a bad way, not in the way we usually think of manipulate, but we're trying to change their physical reality once it drops into physical form. And we've had this discussion about the Lego factory, right? You can order up anything you want. So why would you order up a bunch of stuff you don't want and then try to bend and color and, break and saw in half the Legos once they drop into physical form? Now, do we do that on a conscious level? No, of course not. But that's what happens on a subconscious level. And that's why raising our awareness is so powerfully important. And studying this is going to do that. So if you look at lesson 8 on page 3, he says, he's talking here about this. You must understand that everything is energy. Everything is energy. There's nothing that's not. The rock buried under 10 feet of snow in my front yard is energy. It's got its own vibrational frequency. Your bees have vibrational frequency. Our body is a mass of molecules at a high rate of speed, right? So everything's energy. And he says, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is in constant evolution of change. So I often will think of this when I see a cloud out in the sky. And you realize that it's like the only cloud out there for now. But what's happened is the water has evaporated. It's become a cloud mass. finally the cloud becomes very dense and the water drops back to the earth. That is a continuous cycle of transmutation of energy. So I want you to really burn this into your memories. We are always transmuting energy from spirit form through our intellects into physical form. It has been said to me over and over again, and I've often thought it myself, but maybe I just don't know how to manifest. Good news, bad news. You do. You are always transmuting energy into form. The question is it the form that you want? Right? So if you are getting results that you don't want, then we have to reverse engineer it and say, well, wait a minute. How am I behaving? How am I feeling? And what am I thinking? If you think of the stick person and start at the top, you can form ideas out of the pure positive energy that is this universe, that is God, that is, whatever that is for you. But we have to be consistent with our positionality and our thoughts, because what I see a lot of people doing, including myself, is they're hitting the brakes, they're pushing on the gas, they're hitting the brakes, they're pushing on the gas. And then we don't think the process works. The truth is it works all the time, 100% of the time. The law of attraction is based on the law of vibration, and it is 100% constantly in motion. So if you've had any worry that you're not good at manifesting something, or you think you're not doing the process right, let's assuage those fears and just say, wait a minute, let's just simplify this. Let's just strip this puppy right down to bare bones and say, wait a minute, what am I thinking on a consistent basis? And becoming aware of that like a scientific observer, not like can't believe I was thinking that, because that's just part of a negative paradigm of beating ourselves up, right? So what am I thinking on a consistent basis? And that's where the constant space repetition comes in. And reaching for a better feeling. If you're feeling down, reach for a better feeling. Oh, everything's always working out for me. Create these mantras. I only focus on what I want. I'm so happy and grateful now that I let everything flow free and easy in my life. So these are the kind of shifts that when we make them, life starts to get much easier, because we're always every single person on the planet is transmuting energy into something. But we're the lucky few who understand this, right? So I want you to, this lesson, and Bob has taught this, I know Kathy's familiar with this, Bob has taught this, in his in-person retreats, but this concept that everything starts on a spiritual level and goes through your intellect, it is this formless substance. Remember that from SGR, Lisa? Mm-hmm. It's the formless substance, right? It will only take the mold and the shape of your thoughts, which when you become emotionally involved in those thoughts, right? You use your imagination, you build a new image. Then you use your will and you practice getting emotionally involved in that. We did that last week. Like, how does it feel? That sets up your vibration. Your feeling is your vibration. Are you excited? Are you positively expectant? Or are you expecting not great things? And this isn't to impugn anybody's positionality. It's just to become an observer. When you set up that vibrational pattern, that moves your body. Your body is an instrument of your mind, primarily of your subconscious mind. When you build the habit of only thinking about what you want and positively moving out on it, downloading ideas, when you do all that, your body will move into motion and you will attract to yourself everything you need right when you need it. Is this making sense? Mm-hmm. This permanent transmutation of energy is one of the I would say it's the number one rule, law of the universe. Everything is constantly moving to and through form. And that which is not growing is disintegrating. Think about a tree in your front yard. If the tree dies, it goes back and becomes part of the food chain. Is that a bad thing? No, this isn't about morality. It's just there's no neutral. We have to constantly be growing and expanding. Joni, I see your hand up.
Thank you. I'm not trying to split hairs. I'm curious. When you say everything starts on a spiritual level, which I absolutely love, would you also say that is synonymous with everything starts on a vibrational level, or is there a distinction between the two?
Well, everything is energy. So everything is vibrating, and everything vibrates at different frequencies. Your phone would be a good example. Like your phone has a particular vibrational signature to it. But let me ask you a question. What is there a question behind the question?
So to me, the spiritual level versus a vibrational level, I guess maybe the question behind the question is, are spiritual levels synonymous with vibrational levels? And
I mean, yeah. To me, everything is energy. So if and I think it's very personal to each of us, right? Depending on what our personal beliefs, values, etc. But what I will tell you is if we live in a vibrational world and we're connected to the source of all that is. Now, Laura, I bet for her, that's God, right? Like, and I don't want to presume anything, about anybody's religion here, but my point is, if everything is energy, think of the stick person. I don't have a handy way to pull up an image of it, but if you think of the stick person in the TIR workbook, there's plenty of images of it there. Bob always puts in here a picture of the stick person with this like two arrows pointing to the top of the stick person. And yeah, here's one. Can you guys see this? Woo!
Mm-hmm.
A little hard. It's backward. Move the other way. See how
we
it has this power flowing to and through us? That's pure positive energy. It has no shape or form. Now, what you construe that to be is completely up to you. That's your choice. But what it ultimately takes the shape and form of is, if you can see here, the thoughts on a conscious level, the feelings on a subconscious level, and your behavior on a physical level. Do you all remember that video I posted a long time ago where Bob talks about the creative process?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a priceless one. I can repost that. I have never.
Why don't you repost it one more time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
I'll put it in the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
That to me is one of the most, if you could make a science of understanding what he's saying there and implementing it, your life would be forever changed. I mean, your lives are already becoming forever changed.
Yes.
We are constantly, this energy is moving to and through us. We are creative beings. We're meant to use this intellect. If we weren't, we'd be living, by instinct, like our animals. But we have those higher mental faculties. The problem is we don't use them, or we use them against ourselves. We use our imagination, but it tends to be in alignment with worry, fear, and doubt if that's what's in our paradigm, say about money, or about relationships, or about our physical health. Whatever is in your paradigm is likely driving the bus. Now, that also is neither good nor bad, but if your paradigm is producing results that you don't want, then the work to do is to change the paradigm. And that's what all this work is really about. And the way to do that is to use your conscious mind, to use those higher mental faculties to build a new program, a new software program to install into the subconscious programming. Well, how do we do that? Constant space repetition of an idea. We don't fight the old ideas because that's just putting more of our focus and energy and attention to it. We continually bathe our subconscious mind in the images and the emotions of the new idea. Why is that hard? Because we've been trained to live from the would you look at this outside in? Would you look at your bank account? Would you figure it out? Would you, that's never going to happen. How are you going to do that? You've never done that before. That's the fight that we're all in here with. So Bob says, Joni, that every frequency is hooked up to the next, just like the colors of a rainbow. And there's just infinite levels of frequency. I mean, not to get too esoteric, but Dr. David Hawkins in his book Power versus Force, he calibrates it all the way up to like Christ consciousness and that level of awareness as me, right? As me.
That's what I'm trying to understand, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to understand if there is a distinction or differentiation between a spiritual level and a vibrational level, because I feel like the further we get into this work, the spiritual aspect, for lack of a better word, is coming to surface. And there are days when I can feel very spiritual, by maybe, modern day definition, but I might not be on a high vibration. But does that make sense? And so I guess I'm trying to understand, is there a distinction? Or maybe there's not an answer to that question, but I'd love your perspective and maybe other people's perspective. Is there a distinction between, everything starts on a spiritual level versus everything starts on a vibrational level?
Yeah.
I'm battling with that right now.
Yeah, I don't want to open that discussion right
Okay.
at the moment. We can revisit that Thursday. But I always think it's always important too to understand the relevance of the question to your own situation. So if it is, I want to feel more connected to source energy, to my own spirit, to God, whatever it is that is behind the question, I think that's worth identifying, because then it takes it out of the realm of the esoteric and into the realm of the practical. But I know that Bob would say, excuse me, and he says in that video, and I encourage you all to watch it again, God is, in and of himself, neither created nor destroyed, everywhere, at all places, at all times. Yeah, God is energy first. I mean, it is the energy that created everything, if you subscribe to that. So, Bob in that creation video, in that co-creation video, says, if you go at it from a theological standpoint, God is in and of himself, everywhere, omnipresent. But then if you go to science, they say energy is, right? Neither created nor destroyed, everywhere, present in all places, at all time. I think the important thing here is to know that Bob has said this clearly, and he's not the only person to say it, but it dawned on me that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're spirit first. And we've lost that.
Maybe that explains it a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So we're spirit first, but here's the question I want to ask you. Can you this week go through this lesson, listen to it, but start to understand and really take it in that, we have to create this, as he says here on page 4, we must learn to look at the world and everything in it, ourselves included, with an inner eye of understanding. Your physical senses will deceive you. This is where we get so hung up. Yeah, but I don't have the money. Yeah, but it's not happening. Yeah, but. And we toggle back and forth between our spiritual conception and the vision we've created and living true to that, which you can just ask yourself, am I focused on what I want? Or am I focused on something that's been created, manifested previously by my past paradigms, my past level of conscious awareness? Because everything in our lives, your life is a digital printout, right, of your level of conscious awareness. Now, that's not to say things don't happen and, there's things outside of our control, etc. but how we respond versus how we react and how we project a new future is really up to us. And so, he says here in the second paragraph, everything's energy, but what he's really saying is your physical senses will deceive you. As was brought to your attention in the lesson, The Miracle of Your Mind, each level of vibration is a frequency and is illustrated. Each frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. There is no line of demarcation where one starts and the other stops. There is no point where it stops becoming water and it starts becoming steam. All the levels of vibration are joined together like the colors of a rainbow. So, if you think about this, I love this graphic here on page 4 because he's talking about the creative process, which like I said, I would encourage you guys, to review, but it really comes down to this. We're either using our higher mental faculties, aka true thought, true thinking, generative thought, or we are reacting to past, most likely unconsciously created circumstances in our lives. Does that make sense? Right? So like your current circumstances up until this moment are a function of your previous thoughts, feelings, and behavior. It's like yesterday's news. Right? But the challenge is, are you going to let yesterday's news drive today's thinking, which will drive, the future's thoughts, feelings, and behavior, therefore your results. So I think that this is so notable, and I'm going to stop here and see if you guys have any questions about this before we go into this next section of this lesson. Kathy.
I'm just going to summarize. So we are either using our higher level faculties, you just said, or we're reacting to what is happening around us.
By and large. Yep.
Fine. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. If you think of it that way.
Yes.
Using your higher mental faculties gives you the capacity to respond.
Yes.
More importantly, and I think in this advanced way that we're in this group, responding is better than reacting in terms of co-creation. What's the next level up from that is creating it in the first place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just gonna let that sink in. Right?
Yes.
So in creating, piggybacking off of that statement, you say that all vibrations are like layered. Of course,
Right.
one is touching the next, and that makes perfect sense in my mind.
Yeah.
You start where you are, then you have this goal, and the goal is up here.
Yep.
But you don't have to go one layer at a time, right? There's a whole quantum leap concept that I haven't quite, I don't think, figured out yet, or how that works.
Well, let's talk about it.
So, I mean, you're in one place and, constant repetition, and you're constantly putting yourself in your mind where you want to be, and you think of yourself that way. And do you not just move up one level at a time, or do you just wake up one morning and boom, there it is?
Yeah. Yes. So the concept of linear change, I think, came through the mechanical age of things, right? That when we are, when you measure time and space, things tend to move in a linear way, right? And then the educational system reinforces that. First, you go to kindergarten, then you go to the second grade, then first grade, then you go to the second grade, da, 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 da. And so
Right, the number line and the alphabet and everything's linear.
everything's linear. It's a very human conception.
Yeah.
But what most people, a quantum leap to most people is explained by the word miracles or magic. But the truth is, when you know how it works, then it's, it's, it's not magic. But the best way, and you're headed in the right direction here, the way to have a quantum leap is, let's say your goal is up here, right? Your goal is $1 million a year or 40,000 a month or whatever your goal is. Fill in the blank. Your goal's up here and you're down here. It's not about physically alone getting up to where the goal is, like hard work and hustle. Now, that'll work on some level. But the thing you can do easily with your higher mental faculties is elevate yourself in thought to be literally on the frequency. And Bob used to say, there is a place, like your goal, there is a place. So you can raise yourself with your higher faculties to the level of your goal achieved. So for example, let's think about this. We did this a little bit last week of getting into the feeling of it, right? Neville says feeling is the secret. Why is feeling the secret? Because you literally are putting yourself into the frequency, all these frequencies, you're putting yourself onto that frequency. And I'm going to tie this back in, and it's going to be, oh, this is going to be so good. Everything's already here, Lisa. The way to do what you want to do is already here, but you will not become aware of it on the current level of where you are in terms of your thoughts, feelings, and behavior. You have to elevate that in imagination, right? First, we build a picture of it. So we're like, hey, I want this Shopify business to be really popular. Okay, great. So you see it being very successful. You see it, then you take that image, because we think in images. If we've learned nothing else, we've learned to say that we think in images, right? That's why the image of the stick person is so powerful, because nobody had ever really seen a functional image of the mind. We have brain, an image of the brain, but not of the mind. So now you elevate yourself to that level of the dream, of the goal, of the intention, of the wish fulfilled. And guess what you find there? It feels fabulous. Like, how good did it feel last week when we did that meditation of just being?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Being
Yeah.
in that energy. You should be doing that every day, by the way. We all should. This is a key. Neville wasn't lying when he said feeling was the secret. He was serious about that. But when you're on that frequency, everything that ever is, was, and will be, that's evenly present in all places of time, guess where the answers come?
There.
When you are mentally using your higher faculties to get up on that frequency. That's why people like Einstein, Thomas Edison, all these inventors would get into that. I don't know which brainwave, I can't recall. Laura probably knows, and Laura, I see your hands up. Hold on one second. When you get into that brainwave state, you will literally, that's why I think Edison would sit in a chair with a ball in his hand and he would get completely relaxed. And he would ask for solutions to the challenges he was trying to overcome in terms of creating an incandescent light bulb. And if he got too sleepy and fell actually into sleep, he would drop the ball and that would wake him up. But regularly, these inventors somehow intuitively knew that if they went into that, I don't know if it's the theta brainwave state, Laura probably does, but you get into that brainwave state, all the answers are there.
I read somewhere that Tesla would go into a dark, quiet room and just lay down.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? We all have this ability. And every thought that ever is, was, or will be is evenly present as well. So you can tap into Tesla's energy. You can tap into Bob's energy. You can tap into Oprah's energy. You can tap into other people's energy, obviously in a positive way, and glean from them what they've, the awareness that they've created. That's where Bob does that exercise where he gets the problem completely out of himself onto a piece of paper, and then he sits in a different chair and says, how would Hill approach this? How would Carnegie approach this? How would Nightingale approach this? Kind of his counsel of, his wisdom counsel. So does this, and Laura, I'll get to you in just one second, but is this helpful? Do you see the importance
Mhm.
of getting up onto the level of the frequency of the goal achieved? Because it
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
vibrationally puts you into the wavelength, if you want to call it that, where the answers, all the answers are. The answer's always here. Bob used to say that. Answers are always here. It's just how fast can you tune into it? Right? Laura, thank you for your patience.
I forgot. I'm good. I do want to say though, it's interesting to me that it's proof that just working as hard as you can through me, it, even if it works somewhat, it's not it's not the same as, I don't know, I forgot. But I will say that this month I quit being so hard on myself and I just did the work and I just believed. And what I found I really could believe was I can make $2,000 more at the center this month than I did. That happened.
Yeah.
So next month it's going to be more. And the next month it's going to be more. And it had nothing. I work my butt off. I'm always working, always going. So if always going, always working, always trying would get the $40,000 a month, I absolutely would have had it by now. But my thinking, my beliefs hold me back.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
My think, and I get that now. I really do get that. So, you know, it's
I love
a
that.
exercising my, yeah.
And I loved what you put in there, the faith. And that's the thing. If we flip this around, and this is something, there's two things I want to say here. If we flip it around and say, you know, part of our paradigm as ambitious women is hard work. And I'm all for not hard work, but discipline. There's a difference between discipline and hard work. Discipline is changing the paradigm to a more effective way of being. That's how I now view this.
There's also a difference in being busy and being productive.
Well, that's back to the, you know, in the absence of clearly defined goals, people equate, and this is also a function of the mechanical age, moving your body with getting shit done. You know,
Right.
something about going to work, moving your body, that and societally, that is being changed like crazy. I mean, people, I heard do you guys know who Dean Graziosi is? He's a buddy of he's in the personal development space. He's a really good friend of Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson. I know Joni knows who he is. But he said that the personal development space is estimated will be worth $1 trillion in the not very distant future. Like, people are picking this up. People are understanding that the old paradigm of success, of hustle, of hard work, of just grinding it out, it, like to your point, Laura, it will get you so far. But when we tap into this, as my husband Dan has called it, the through me, like you're working with this infinite power. You're using your mind the way it was built to be used. You're using your spirit the way it was built to be used. You're breaking through the resistance, which is the one thing and the one thing only that's holding you back. Right? It's the limiting beliefs. It's the resistance to doing the things you don't want to do that you know you should do. It's the resistance to not studying or not getting into the feeling of your wish fulfilled and then downloading ideas. Like, this is the new success paradigm. And the people who are figuring this out are going to be like the difference between being in a, I don't know, a hot air balloon and a rocket ship to the moon. Because that's how much you can leverage the power, this pure positive energy that we all have access to, that we are subconsciously, unconsciously using the way our paradigms are built to produce the thought, to produce the, you know, the thoughts, feelings, and behavior that we currently get today. You know, Bob used to famously say, and I believe it, the reason people don't make $1 million a year when they're making 100,000 a year is because they're not thinking thoughts of people who are making $1 million a year. Elon Musk is having very different conversations. And by all estimates, he's kind of a regular guy, or even not very regular. I don't know, but he thinks differently. He has an expanded awareness of finance and money and how to make things happen. And however he built that paradigm, and whatever you think about him, it's clear, that when he blows a rocket ship up, he doesn't like go home and cry. He just figures out how to finance a new one. It's just like, because that's who he is. He's built an identity of doing big things in the world, and of his mission and his goal and his dream. So where I'm going with all of this is when it is, I think the whole manifestation mindset business has in large measure been heavily colored by the hard work and hustle. You have to do it's hard. The truth is, it's easy. We've just been trained to think it's hard. And it's not about ginning up or zhuzhing up our ability to do it. It's about shifting the thoughts, feelings, and behavior about what? Two things primarily: who we really are as spiritual beings, and the universal laws that govern our being in this world. And when we understand that, and the hard part of this is it's not something you can see, hear, feel, taste, or touch. And we're so oriented, we're so earthbound, we're so dense. Not dense, stupidity, but we're so dense in our physicality that we literally do not have access to that realm, which is the realm of realms. It's like the magical room that not many people go to or live in. But once we do, through study, through awareness, through knowledge and practice, right? We have to practice. That's what we talked about in 2 lessons ago. And we talked about it in lesson 8 in TIR. But when we get that flywheel going, that's when life gets really easy. And we enjoy the journey. We don't wonder if it's going to happen. It's just the magic of how it unfolds and when it happens. And we can collapse that time frame by spending more time in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by being optimistic, by being opportunistic. He talks about being opportunistic, looking for opportunities, assuming you're going to bump into 10 opportunities a day, Laura, that are going to easily help you make the 40,000 a month, right? Instead of having to take a shovel out and go dig for them.
Right. Yeah. Can I say something?
Sure, of course.
Elon Musk. I went and studied about his mom,
Mhm.
and because I wanted to know
Okay.
who raised this boy. And all of his siblings are, I think there's just 1 or 2, but they're all successful from what I can hear. But what he does is he has faith in himself.
Right.
That's all it was. He was taught to trust himself.
Hmm.
She's a model.
Yeah, I know. She's
May.
beautiful.
She's a Revlon model, and I think she's in her early 70s. But she wrote a book. The title is escaping me, but it's clever. It's a clever title, but it would be a good book. But yeah, I think she raised those kids by herself or something like it
Yep.
was, and
It, yeah.
so wow. we've covered we've covered a lot of things here, but I hope this is helpful, because it's things that I have been thinking about quite a bit after studying this quite a bit. And what I realize now is the whole manifestation and mindset business has been a little shrouded in mystery and perhaps some oversimplification or some misconceptions. And if you think about it and you look at Dispenza's work and you look at Bruce Lipton's work and you look at Bob's work and you look at the, religious teachings, it all comes together, and which is we become what we think about all day long. And part of the function is, when you're on the level of what it is you want, that's when you ask for inspired action. That's when you ask for knowledge, right? Because that's where the answers are literally, that's the frequency the answers are on. It's back to what Einstein said, you can't solve the current level of problems with the current level of thinking. You have to elevate to what you want and then ask for inspired action on the how and let the path unfold. Again, I don't know how this all happened, but we have been so trained, to think in the reverse. I have to figure out how, and then I'll decide what I want. I'll do this when, I'll do this when, I'll do this when. Bad news. You will never figure out, or it will, let me reframe that. That's not true. You will be able to figure things out, but it will be much slower and much less of a joyous journey than if you do it in reverse. If you put yourself literally in the frequency, and what is a frequency? Bob says feeling is a word that we have invented for the conscious awareness of frequency. Remember that your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. I feel sad. I feel excited. I feel nervous. I feel enthused. I feel optimistic. That feeling correlates to a vibrational frequency. And we want to reach for better and better feelings. We want to get up on a higher frequency. We want to believe in ourselves. We want to be optimistic. Well, how do we do that? Well, exactly what we're doing here. We're studying to break the old myths down, the old misconceptions, to say, wait a minute, Kathy, you can do anything you want to do. Isn't that beautiful? I was feeling a little bit old the other day, like not old. I mean, I kind of do feel old some days, but it's kind of like, shoot, I'm going to be 63 this year, dang. And then I heard Wayne Dyer say that Louise Hay, how old do you think she was when she started Hay House, which is one, in my mind, one of the premier publishing houses for this type of work?
Maybe
She was
35.
She was 60 years old, Kathy.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
Amazing.
She was just getting started, and I forget how old she was. She wasn't that much younger when she wrote You Can Heal Your Life.
Oh, right. I remember. Absolutely.
And Bob was going strong to the end there. I mean, so it's never too late. Your mental mechanism is meant to, I believe, is meant to work perfectly until end of days. And just every day, start thinking about growth. Start thinking about what you really want. Start to be that person who lives in la la land. Someone says to you, what are you doing? Oh, I'm feeling good. Well, why are you feeling good? The economy's going, to heck in a handbasket. Oh, well, mine's not, and I mean, you'll annoy the crap out of people, but, but we have to think, and this, we'll talk about the second half of this lesson in a minute, but Lisa, I see your hands up.
Oh, what was I gonna say?
Sorry.
So, the whole act of just every day, just spending a little bit of time getting in the feeling and studying this work and doing all that for a long time. I was really doing that. I made it a habit to get up extra early every morning to just sit quietly and just to feel, where it is I want to be and what that must be like. And, and then I got really busy and I stopped doing that. And boy, do I feel a difference. Like there is such a difference. Like I feel disconnected from my goal, in a way that I didn't feel before I even started doing that.
Yeah.
So before I learned to do that, I had a goal and I didn't feel disconnected because I didn't know I was disconnected. And then when I started, just really studying and getting in the feeling and trying to raise my vibration to get there, when I stopped doing that, then I could tell the difference. I mean, I could feel the disconnection.
Yeah.
So
Here's the thing. Do not beat yourself up over that. It happens to the best of us. And the irony is, when we tend to get busier, that's when the wheels kind of come off, the bus, the study bus. And the challenge with that is that's when we need it most.
Right,
It's kind of
yeah.
this inverse, thing where, I used to say to people, and it's worth, and listen, I have the same struggle. If Bob were here, he would say this. If you study this like a scientist and you do what they tell us to do here, your life will change like night and day.
Mhm.
If you've believed that, and you can choose to believe that, you can choose right here, right now. This is as important as breathing, drinking water, and eating food, or whatever, however your Maslow's hierarchy is. But I will tell you that I've seen people study this, myself included, and I've seen them fall off the study train. And as fast as you can go up, I've seen people go back down. Why? Because the paradigm culturally and individually has such a strong pull. The comfort zone is
it's like a rubber band.
It is. It's
It's like the higher you go, the more taut that rubber band gets until you push it and it snaps, and then you just
right.
That's it. You're up. But that rubber band can really snap you right back down to the.
It's got a
bottom.
rebound. It's definitely got a rebound effect. And I think the more we experience alignment with our true selves, with that pure positive energy, the more we feel the magic. Listen, I'm all, me. I love the shiny stuff. Love it. It's so good. As Joni says, what once was a luxury has now become a necessity. Flying to Hawaii and anything other than Delta One is not an option at this point. So be it. But what I love more, and what I want you to think about, I think what we all want to experience is what we had a taste of last week, of just being in alignment with spirit, in alignment with our spirit, in alignment with our hearts and our desires and our dreams, and knowing that we're spiritually perfect in every way and everything's available to us, and living in that alignment, which ironically, parenthetically, produces, the Delta One tickets. But we have it the other way around. I had somebody in the call yesterday in my TIR group say, well, okay, so if I do everything right, exactly how long is this going to take? And I'm like, I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good question, but it's also not the right question. We have to love the journey as much as we love the outcomes. And the irony is, the more we love the journey of being in alignment, the more that is your primary, it's that or nothing. Kind of, that's the hill I'm going to die on every day, is how in alignment am I with what I want, how I feel, what I'm becoming, the growth, the excitement, the fear, like that commitment to living in that expansion of who you are, of bringing more of yourself to the surface.
Mhm.
Thomas Troward wrote some beautiful essays, and one of them is called Entering into the Spirit of It. And the other one is called, what's the other one called, Kathy? The one on
Yourself, maybe,
yourself.
or
Yourself. There's one on yourself, and there's one called Entering into the Spirit of It.
yeah.
And when we enter into the spirit of it, and I will repost that is exactly what he's talking about there. He's talking about universal laws and entering into the spirit of it. Most of us are trained to live in the mechanism of it, to just go through the paces, to live a life. And I'm not judging anything here. I'm just saying what I think we crave most is the magic of it, the feeling of it, the freedom of it, all those things. All of those things that we all experienced, we had a taste of last week, of just that calm knowing
No, you're good.
Of-
Sorry.
of who we are, and what we want. And so when we place the highest priority in this work, I'm living in that alignment with who we are and what we truly want in life and our spiritual connection versus when's it going to be here? When's it going to be here? That's pumping the brakes. But when we can love the journey, another book title would be The Joyful Journey, how to manifest everything you dream of. When we
You've got a lot of books in you, Peggy.
I know, girl.
Start writing.
They're right. I know, I got 6 right off the top of my head. On decision making too, by the way, because nowhere is that being taught in a proper way.
That's so important.
We're only taught to make decisions based on what we can see today. That is a very constricted way of making decisions. It is infinitesimal compared to what we can have in our lives when we make decisions the proper way that we've been trained here, based on what you want and what you want only. So the big concept here is we are source energy, we're connected to source energy. We have these intellectual factors, right? We experience contrast and we say, oh, I don't want that, I want more of this. Then we start to get in harmony. How? We build an image of what we want. We keep painting it in. Van Gogh used to say, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. You keep building the image because we think in images, and then you get emotionally involved in it. Like, oh. I mean, my goal, I have a new goal for this year, which is every 6 weeks to go somewhere with Dan. One of the places I really want to go back to is Lanai in Hawaii, which is just like, it's Larry Ellison's private island, and there's 2 4-season hotels there. And you fly to Honolulu, and then they put you on a little private jet owned by the resorts. And then they fly you over to the island and they pick you up in a Tesla, and it's just phenomenal. It was a phenomenal experience. But I just want that. Now, do I know how to do that and fit it into the business? Well, now I'm getting ideas, because now in my family life and my life and our lives, but now I'm getting up on that feeling of being there, of being in the hotel room with him, of being in the lobby there. I went there 2 years ago with my girl, with Belinda and Natasha. So I'm starting to fill in the vision of it with my imagination. And the feeling of it is so fun and so joyful that that's what I'm becoming. It's what Bob called a magnificent obsession. Now you start to think, well, the more time I spend in that energy, the more I'm going to download ideas, the more thoughts will come to me. He talks about how we produce thoughts and ideas, right, in this lesson. And we talked about this in a previous lesson as well. So is this making sense to you guys? Maybe you already have picked this all up, but to me, this is so profoundly important to understand.
I could hear this 1,000 times and still pick up something new, hear something new.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is great.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want you to go beyond and not only understand this, but now start to think, when am I going to commit to doing my study, and how am I going to do it in a way that really excites and enthuses me? Because I know, like, it's like, if I gave you the key or the golden goose, like if I said, if you do these 5 steps, you can have anything you want. Wild horses couldn't drag you away from doing it. Build that much of a belief that this literally is the key to the kingdom of what you desire, and you will find a way to make it happen. And then once you make it a habit, here's the good things about paradigms. Once it becomes a habit, then you don't have to think about it anymore.
That's
Like, I
right.
don't have to think about my morning
No.
routine. It's just like clockwork. That's that
That's it.
Albert, that's that Albert and Gray piece in this book. I think it's in lesson 7 or 6. You know, successful people make a they don't enjoy doing the things non-successful people. You know, nobody enjoys going to the gym, but everybody wants a healthy body. Well, if you figure out how to make it a habit, put your gym shoes out, set yourself up, create a nice space for yourself, get a cup of coffee or tea, make a nice, you know, sacred space to do your work in the morning, like prioritize it like that. Pretty soon, it's like brushing your teeth. It's like, do you ever skip brushing your teeth? Not unless it's really unusual circumstances, right? I found a way to brush my teeth when I travel. I carry a little bag that has a small toothbrush and toothpaste in it. So I always find a way to brush my teeth. But taking this into action is the important thing here,
Mhm.
and practicing it. Because if it just stays on an intellectual level, it really doesn't do us.
No, it doesn't transfer. Mm-mm.
Laura, is your hand still up? Well, your hand is still up. Do you still hand? She said no. I just want you guys to get really excited about this, because I truly believe it's easier than we're making it out to be. And in some ways also a challenge, because building a new habit is a challenge. What do they say? 21 days? Who knows? I don't know how long it's going to take you. But I know that persistence and self-discipline are key. And I know that if Bob could go from 4,000 a year back in the 60s to over $1 million a year, back when $1 million was real money, with an 8th grade education, just by doing exactly what Ray Stanford told him to do. He didn't even have the metacognition level that we have here. He spent a decade trying to figure it out. And then once he did, all he wanted to do was teach it to people. But when we really start to look at ourselves and our thoughts and our paradigms and build new ones and get into that feeling of it, it really becomes quite magical. That way of living.
Mhm.
And then the shiny things are just icing on the cake. Like, the people who are most successful at this fall in love with the process and just follow it really faithfully, let's call it. They just surrender, as Laura said. Kathy.
I find that you really have to keep studying this and talking about it
Absolutely.
and reading it and all of that, because it'll go away. Your mind will fill up with something else if you don't do this.
Oh, that's a good point, Laura.
Put my hand up where it's supposed to be. Up there, right there. I'm just noticing stuff. So I have a size 12 foot. That's a big foot. That's a size 42. It's not easy to find good quality shoes. And I'm kind of a shoe person. So I find shoes that I really like, and then they just last, right?
Yeah.
Last because I usually buy really good quality shoes. And 200's been about my max that I'll spend on a pair of shoes. Anything above that, I just think, eh. Well, my shoes have been around for about 7 years and they really are getting old and I can't find new ones. Well, I found a pair, fell stinking in love with them. $359 for these stupid shoes. And they're purple and they're boots and they're beautiful. And there's a size 42 available. And I just wanted the boots. Well, Bruce has had a really hard year last year. We had our income in half, but I want those boots. And I'm not willing to go in debt for a pair of boots. I'm not that way. But when I find a good pair of shoes that I can wear, I'm excited about. So I've been waiting for the boots. Hold on a second.
It's feeling we're going to get a picture of the boots.
I wonder if she ordered them.
Or the actual boot.
I love it. Getting the boot. By the way, I wear a size 41, so I can relate. When I find shoes that are in my size, they end up in my closet one way or another.
Where are my boots?
No.
Well, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, what if you think about it, I remember when I first started doing this work and I was living in Wellesley at the time, and I thought, I'm going to go to this consultant program and I want to show up wearing beautiful, where are the boots?
Hold on, I'm coming.
No worries. I want to show up wearing beautiful clothes. And everybody's got a ceiling, right? Like everybody's got a number for what you'll pay for dresses or clothing or things like that. And I started going online and I looked at Nordstrom's and I looked at all these different places. Well, I fell in love with this brand, St. John. And I have and I was never going to spend.
Oh, look at those.
Oh,
Those are
look.
beautiful.
I love
Hey,
Are they,
it. See?
No, they're called AS 89, AS
Oh,
98, AS 98. Anyway, they've got all kinds of shoes. So my point is that it's like, I just knew they were coming.
Yeah.
I didn't know when. I didn't know how. I certainly wouldn't have put me in debt for those. Did I really just say wouldn't put me in debt? Okay, I wouldn't put myself in debt, but there they are.
Right.
And they fit really nice and I love them.
And they're so cool. And that's
Oh,
the thing. That's the thing, is you can say, well, I
So
really,
easy for a pair of boots.
right. And but here's what's cool. Why is it different for $1 million a year?
Paradigms.
Thank you. Beliefs.
Yeah. It
Beliefs.
doesn't, and that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm noticing. It's like, okay, I see what I did. Let's just do that again. So, okay, I can do that.
Right.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the joy of how these things show up,
Mhm.
that is what we need to fall in love with. And Kathy, this is a beautiful lesson to teach your clients, because the thing is, we feel like it's conditional. I'll be happy when I will feel like a millionaire when I manifest the $1 million. No, 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 no. You have to reverse engineer that. You have to feel the $1 million. You have to see yourself spending the money. You have to feel the luxury of it, the joy of it, if you want more clients, see the Zoom picture filled up. This is why visual images are so important. Dan did the Mind movie. His is old. He has to update that. Most of that he's manifested. But you have to get emotionally involved in it to signal the universe to send you the way you want it. And I had a teacher in the past who, she talked about that girl manifests. She good.
And Katie, if I could do it for something as stupid as boots.
Yeah, but boots, but the difference here is it's the process, falling in love with the process versus the outcome.
Well, I was having fun yearning after the boots. And there was a part of me that was worried that I wasn't going to get the 42s because they don't make a whole lot of 542s.
Yeah, I'm aware. I shared with the group I wear 41, so I know the conundrum.
Oh, fellow Bigfooter.
Yes.
Okay, I did not know.
Gosh.
Anyway,
yeah.
But it was fun. It's like, okay, I gotta get them. I gotta get them. It's kind of fun. It's coming. It's gotta come. It's gotta come. And that's not the process, then you have to explain to me differently. Because
So Laura, what did you do? Did you just order them?
oh yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't. It didn't come magically in the mail.
Oh, okay.
I thought about them. They didn't just
Because
all
that
of a
would be a
sudden show up
win.
on my doorstep.
You
No.
ordered them and you paid for them, right?
Oh yeah, they're paid for.
So the
And-
money's
but-
going to come next week, right?
Yeah.
No, the
Yeah.
money's here. I would
Yeah.
not have done it without the money here.
Yeah.
So that was all worked out.
Yeah.
The money came and off I went to buy shoes, which is this honestly, here goes my little insecurity paradigm things. I probably won't buy another pair of shoes like that for 5, 6, 7 years. And they'll probably last that long. So there's my justification for spending $350, almost $400 on shoes.
Okay, so here's the question.
Yeah.
Live in an infinite world. In an
So
infinite.
why does it matter, right? It doesn't.
Want, desire is the only prerequisite. If Bob were here, I'll channel Bob for a minute.
Okay,
Why couldn't you have 100 pairs of shoes?
right. No, I see it. I do see that. It's a paradigm.
It's a
thing.
belief. It's a
Right,
belief.
it's a.
Now I
yeah,
got my one pair of shoes, my goodness, Laura, those,
I
you're
know.
gonna have to have
And
those
it-
last for the next 7 years. Now,
Well,
listen,
I won't give used shoes to DI. I have to go buy new shoes and give them, not $400 pair of shoes, but I will go,
well, the truth
so,
is, that all gets worked out, but
yeah,
what do you want?
yeah.
What do you want?
Mm.
You live in an infinite flipping universe, infinite, infinite, infinity, never ends, never begins, never ends. It's like all one big infinity loop.
The thinking
have
stuff is
any-
everywhere.
Everything, yeah, everything is everywhere. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, here we go. Everything is energy. Match the energy of what you want.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. By cultural standards, nobody needs a yacht. Nobody needs a Tesla. Nobody needs a big house. Nobody needs to buy organic food. I mean, it would be good, but need versus want. Life is short. Go to Lanai. It's an amazing experience in life. Go to Petra. Go to wherever it is you want to go. I know Kathy has a trip lined up. I mean, life is meant to be lived. And I know this, that in giving, everything cycles the law of cause and effect, right? Laura, I know how generous you are, you and Bruce are. I know everybody on here is incredibly generous. I mean, I stopped and helped a girl at the top of the lift today who was crying, a little girl. And my friends were with me, and the husband is a saint, and he put his coat on the little girl and we helped her. And but like, that's the law of cause and effect. Did we do that to get more goodies out of the universe? No. But then, my daughter's friend says, oh, stay at my $5 million apartment. There's nobody there. And I'm like, why did that happen? And then I was like, wait a minute. I've hosted countless people in my home. That's the law of cause and effect. It's not like it's a quid pro quo, but it's like the energy of generosity and of giving and of providing value is being a channel for that good to flow to and through us, to be an uplifter in this universe, a way shower. Good things come to us. The reverse also happens, if you live in a different way, the reverse also happens. So here's my challenge to us for the rest of this, is to really fall in love with what you want. Just fall in love with what you want and just be easy about it. And if it's hard, if it feels sticky or resistance, then lay it down and just know this. It's here, it's coming. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It'll show up in divine timing, right, Laura? It'll show up in divine timing.
Yeah, I just had a divine inspiration to do something, so I apologize. Okay.
No, no worries. So this is I don't know how to be more clear about this, but when we fall in the love with this constant expansion, with this constant growth, with this constant creation, co-creation, right? We came here to make the world a better, bigger, fuller, more joyful, more happy place. And oh, by the way, to experience all of that ourselves. It's not like we have to be like Cinderella scrubbing the floors to get a little crumb of bread. We came here to be joyful too. And the more we can be in that energy of it's here, it's coming. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I just can't wait, because I have no idea. I have no idea how this is going to happen, but it's happening, right? I know that. I know like it's going to get dark tonight. It's happening. And my work, remember I showed you the little margin, and then the rest of the work is God's work and the universe's. Your work is to do your work. Think the thoughts, feel the feelings, do the positive activities that you can do. Sandy talked about in this lesson in our back office, she gave a talk about this. She really is a proponent of doing the write down 10 things you're grateful for every morning, be quiet for 5 minutes and ask for guidance. I would suggest you get into the feeling of your wish fulfilled and send love and forgiveness to 3 people, which could include yourself or a situation or anything like that. That sounds deceptively simple. And if gratitude is too strong, you can say appreciation. What do you appreciate? I appreciated that the sun was out today. It hasn't been out since I've been home. That was a beautiful thing, that I was on the slopes with my friends. That I have a body at 63 that can still function like that. That's a huge win. Like I have food on my table. I have an amazing partner. I have an amazing, clients. I love what I do. I'm so purposefully focused on my passion in life. So when we get into that energy of gratitude, not just on a conscious level, but on a felt level, and then she said, and it's so true, this is so powerful, gratitude for what's coming.
Yeah.
Future pacing the memory. I'm so happy and grateful now that, like future pacing, you don't have to know the how. Release yourself from the hard work, hustle, and grind and how. Just to enjoy it. Have a fun time with it. So that's my recommendation to you. And if you need help getting on your DMO, let me know. But I would say you're in this program, it's world class. Study this in the morning.
Yep.
And do the work, write out the answers, write the name of 3 good friends. How would, I am who I think you think I am, that's a mind bender. And then, think about what he does here in this lesson. And I think it's so powerful is we are the CEOs of our lives. Now, we may not have been intentionally being the CEOs of our lives up until now, but where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years in finance, in production? That means service, whatever you're producing, whatever you're doing, contributing to the world. Sales. We have to learn to love sales. And most of us don't have a good sales paradigm. We see sales as a bunch of stuff it's not. Sales is service. If I can get people over their paradigms to get into this work, it is life-changing. I didn't always love selling because I didn't like the Kirby vacuum cleaner guy that showed up at my house, or the Cutco knives people or whatever, fill in the blank. Most people don't do sales well.
I've
And
had both those things. I had Kirby's for years and
I
had
know, I know,
I love
we did too.
Cutco knives. They're the
I
best.
know. I think I still have some from like
Oh, yeah, they're the
25
best.
years ago. But think about, if you're Kathy, you and I are in the industry of coaching. If what Dean Graziosi is saying, that it is going to be a $1 trillion industry, people are wild for online personal development now. How can we serve better? How can we serve at a higher level? How can we build a business that serves both our clients and our lifestyle? Lisa, you can do the same thing with your life, with your business, with, whatever it is your goals are. And I know, we've talked about this. Same thing with you, Joni and Laura. Honestly, Laura, I am seeing red light therapy. I know it's not the exact same as yours. Yours is like the chef's kiss, top of the food chain. It's trending. You're on this crest. Think about it like that.
I
How
know.
can I be a category of 1 in my industry?
I know. I just did Tuesday trainings with my staff today, and I'm like, guys, we are the experts. Hello.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I have a question for Lisa.
Yeah.
Because Lisa, you're so, and you said more today because those of us that talk a lot didn't. So I love that. So can you tell me what your goals are? What do you want to do? I've never heard that. Is that okay to ask?
Yeah, I mean, do we
Fine with
have
me.
time for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple. My primary goal, the one I'm working on right now, is to increase my income. And I started a Shopify store to help me do that, called the Ascended Dog, which was birthed out of raising Faith, who I adopted and has a lot of reactivity and some behavioral issues. And so that's why the store is called the Ascended Dog. It's taking a dog that is really hard to deal with and training and understanding and kind of bringing them up to, a dog you can live with. So, and we've had, we've had some great breakthroughs here in the past week with her, which is awesome. But otherwise, yeah, I wanted to start some animal sanctuaries. Like I wanted to start an animal sanctuary for, you know, not just domesticated animals, but wild animals, because as the human population grows and we, you know, get more involved in development and progress, what they call it, you know, then we have less habitat for the wild animals as well. And then, you know, they have no place to go. So I wanted to try to buy up some land, not try, we don't try. I want to buy up some land and create a sanctuary. And then I thought, well, if I created one sanctuary, then that would help a limited number of animals. But if I become the person who can fund other people creating sanctuaries, then I can do so much more. So that's what I want to do.
I love that. Will you put a link to your Shopify store in our chat?
Yeah,
Sure.
please
Share
do.
Sure. I will.
Yeah. And anybody that has anything that they want to share, I'm
Oh, I
happy to
love
share.
that. That's so good.
And
That
Peggy, I
is-
did try to create a TikTok video and it was horrible and I deleted it. It was
Well,
bad,
you know what?
but
It's like pancakes. The first ones really stink. Like you gotta
Yeah.
try it out. But
do it
here's the
again.
thing, when you keep practicing, it's gonna get better and better. And you know, just keep practicing. I don't know if you guys know who Russell Brunson is. I know Johnny's pretty much an expert on all these guys in that space. He created a thing called ClickFunnels. It's 100 million plus. It's probably worth more than that today. Out of his college room. I think he's was he a BYU guy, Johnny? No, he was up in Idaho, but he is LDS. But anyway, really nice guy. But he did a video of his first videos versus how he is now. And now he's like literally world famous, helps people create sales funnels, right? It was so funny because his first video was so bad. He was so awkward. He was so stiff. And now he's on stages everywhere with Tony Robbins and Dean and all these guys. Like he's in that upper echelon. But he purposely showed people how bad the videos were in the
When he
beginning
first began.
because they
Wow.
were just terrible. They were terrible, you know, comparatively. But
You know what, Lisa?
Pardon
What
me?
I've learned from TV and from my experience with TV and doing things is that if you're honest and sincere, people like it.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Don't
TikTok
try
is
to
one
be
of the
anything
more
you don't.
forgiving platforms because it's really down home. And I think your message is so important. And I think if you just, you know, talk about your mission, I mean, it's always, you know, I don't know if any of you have read the book Story Brand by Donald Miller. He talks about how everybody's business and your life, your mess is your message, you know. You've overcome this challenge. You've had your hero's journey with this dog. Who doesn't want to help a dog that they picked up, you know, and rescued, but the dog has had trauma? And so you're finding ways to really make sure these dogs don't end up back at the shelter or worse. And that is like every person who has a rescue dog's dream. And so if you go on and just say, hey, my name's Lisa. I started this business, the Ascended Dog, pin it to the top and just speak from your heart. And the first 20 are going to be terrible, but you'll finally end up with one that's good enough. And
You know what? Reach out to
just,
Caesar Milan. Go get
Pardon me?
him. Go
Yeah.
talk to Caesar Milan. Reach out to him. Email him. Talk to him. Get
Yeah.
him to listen to what he has to say, or whoever you might respect.
Or, you know, duet one of his or someone else's. There's so many things you can do. But when your desire is greater than the fear and as you rightly said, the terror barrier, you're going to push through that. And you're just going to do it scared. You're going to do it messy and you're going to get better. But the first few ones are going to feel like, you know, like I said,
Right.
Dan and I first started this coaching. I started first and then he joined me and then we would do these online things. I couldn't lead. I had him lead every single one because I couldn't stand the way I looked. I hated my voice, still not a fan, but you know, it's like it's too important not to do it. And I get too much pleasure. And I hope it helps you guys as much as I love doing it. So, we become it by becoming it.
Yeah, that's profound. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the part that what I'm realizing 5 years in for myself and most of the personal development world, if it only stays in the conscious mind, your frustration level goes up. You feel less satisfied because you have this dream, you want this dream, but you're not taking action. And I'd rather see you take imperfect, messy action. Inspired action really is the best, Lisa. Maybe you could start by going and giving talks at shelters to people about how to handle their reactive dogs that they got from the shelter. Maybe you do a recorded webinar or something. I mean, but there's all these ideas that will come to you, inspired action, like God and the universe will show you the way. But you have to stay locked and loaded on the mission. Because and I know, sadly, there are dogs, just like Faith, who don't make it. Because people don't know how to handle it. And I don't mean to drag the whole thing down here, but that's the God's honest truth.
But that is true. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
So Peggy, what if somebody, and I don't know if this is you, Lisa, or not, I'm just asking in general, what if somebody doesn't understand what inspirational thought is or ideas? What if every idea they come in their head, they question whether it'll work or not? How do you decide? How do you decipher between, a good idea and a piece? How do you do that?
Yeah, really good question. And I did ask my mentor, Bob Proctor. I had the good pleasure of being in a room with him. And I did say, hey, Bob, what's the difference between your paradigm telling you something, right? Like out of fear or, reduced capacity or whatever, and pure intuition, pure inspiration. And he said, intuition will never steer you wrong.
But how do you know which is which?
Well, I think here's the deal. Remember, intuition is one of those higher faculties.
How does it feel?
Exactly. Like, does it feel like your prayers are being answered? Like God's talking to you, like the universe is like, hey, check this out.
And then as a secondary, it's a paradigm. If a thought comes in and says, oh no, that doesn't feel peaceful. That's scary. That's this. I'll never make it. Then it's a paradigm overriding the inspiration.
Of course. Always.
Yes. How do you know that's not just a terror barrier going, oh, you take a step back. You're about to fail and fall on your face.
Well, your terror barrier is a function of your beliefs, your opinion of yourself. Again, it's always a faulty opinion. The truth is you can do anything. So your terror barrier is a baked in part of our paradigms. So if it, like Lisa, that getting out and spreading the word, whatever platform you use, is the way to help people understand how important this is and why you found a solution for them. Right?
I have a question. Can I ask a
So,
question?
yeah, hold on one second. So, but I'm going to answer your question, Laura. So let's say in that 10 minutes a day, you write down what you appreciate, what you're grateful for. You ask quietly, hey, here's my goal, either generally or today. Here's my goal to move the ball down the field. What inspiration? I know you've all had. Raise your hand if you haven't had. No, raise your hand if you've had inspired ideas and thoughts.
If I had him?
If you've had them. Yes, of course.
Oh.
I would suggest that you get a journal and write them down. And then look at them and pick one you're going to take action on every day. Now, your terror barrier, back to the point, Lisa, is going to be like, wait a minute. It tends to be like that kind of a thing.
It sounds exactly like that.
but wait, ooh. No, I'm gonna go eat a cookie or watch Netflix or
Yeah.
The avoidant behavior is usually a clear indication you're on the right path, but something's pulling you off the path. So when you get that inspired action, it's building those mental muscles are so weak in most of us or used against us. Like I grew up being basically told and living a life where I had to ignore my intuition because to survive in kind of the environment I lived in, it was like, I'm like, this ain't right. But then I was like, well, it is what it, like you know what I mean? So listening and trusting your intuition is a mental muscle that the more you do it, and make it a tight loop, Laura. Like if you get a little intuition, and you're good at this already, I know you are.
I know there were rhetorical questions I was
I
asking.
know.
for myself.
But back to Lisa's point and everybody else, and for the rest of us, get a little intuition journal. The woman that does energy work on me said, your intuition is so strong, but you don't listen to it. You discount it every single time.
Wow.
She said, you're one of the most intuitive people I work with. And trust me when I say she's connected. So get a little journal and write down, hey, these are my intuitions. Mine tend to come in the morning or when I'm driving, when I'm not trying to problem solve something, it downloads. When I'm trying really hard to solve something, it's like, it doesn't download because I'm usually in the frequency of the problem, not the frequency of the solution. Laura.
So I am willing to fall on my face and fail
Mhm.
for the kids that I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
I am willing to fall on my face and fail in order to help my family and my friends. I am willing 1000% to do that. Ready, set, go.
Yeah. Well, and let's think of it this way. What if there was no failure? What if it was only lessons and growth, lessons and growth, lessons and growth? Oh,
Well, to me, I just took fear on and said, bite me.
which is going to be the title of Dan's book, BYPE. He was in the info, he was in the, in the information programming in the, that world, in the tech world, bite me.
Love that. Yeah, no,
but see,
willing
but
to
this
do it.
is,
Someone wants
and
to
I know
do
we're
it.
going over, and if you guys have to drop off, I respect that. But this is why it's important to make these metacognition shifts. And that's what Bob's really helping us, and Earl's really helping us do here, is reframing how we orient to life, who we are. You're never going to get it done, and you're never going to get it wrong. Like it's always the what is success? What did Earl say success was? The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What if we loved the process so much that our joy in life was never outcome dependent? It was the other way around. The outcomes were dependent on how much joy we had, how much ease we have, how much fun we have. I said to Dan yesterday, we were skiing in this powder. I'm like, let's have a new belief. The more we play, the more money we make. He's like, I'm down. But most of us are programmed, oh, you got to work harder if you're going to make more money. Who says? It's a belief. You can change your beliefs. So this is about really, I want to shake you guys up and say, wait a minute, shake it up and question your beliefs. And if they're not serving you, replace it with one, use the law of polarity. I got to work harder to make more money. No, the more I play, the more money I make. I coached a client about 5 years ago, and he was killing it because he loved to vacation. He ran a small private equity firm, and he was like, I feel guilty about traveling with my husband. I'm like, why? Why would you hold that belief? That's a terrible belief. The more they had the organization had a private jet. I'm like, the more you play, the more fun you have, the more money you make. So it sounds a little out there, but let's play with it. Okay. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to have fun with this. I want you to play with it. I want you to do your DMO. If you need help, let me know. I'll help you figure out a plan. Basically, here's what I'll tell you to do. Get out a calendar, get yourself set up, go into the gym, put your stuff in a place where it's easy to study your materials and to do your DMO, your daily method of operation. Just do it. No, your paradigm's going to want to sleep and stuff's going to come up and you're going to be busy. But I can tell you the 30 minutes a day that you spend on this is going to be the most important thing you can be doing for yourself. And the second thing is make sure you're going to bed at night thinking about your wish and your dreams fulfilled. And
I
you
got one of those headbands. I got
Yep.
ones at work
Yep.
and I recorded and I've been listening to them all night. Well, not almost all night. It seems to wake me up at 2 and I take it off at 2, but from 10 to 2, my goal is to listen to it all night.
perfect. That kind of thing. But the feeling, if you only visit it in the morning and then the rest of the day you're in a different vibration, it's going to be hard. It's going to slow things up. It'll still work. And I want to point something out. There are people who do this. They have a paradigm. They're unconsciously competent and they know how to do this. Oprah is a good example of that. Somebody said to her, you need to get your own show after she got fired for crying. They're like, you can't be a reporter and cry when someone's house burns down. Like, that's just not professional. And she wanted to be Barbara Walters. Well, then she realized, someone said you should have your own show. She was a Black woman with no money. I mean, that's not that the color of your skin is necessarily an indicator of success, but it wasn't like she was a white man with millions in the bank. Like she just said, okay, I'm going to be me. I'm going to create a show that's me, Lisa. I'm going to create a TikTok that's attracts and then visualize attracting people who need you. They need you. Your dogs need you. Your pets need you. Visualize that. That's the best way to ensure success. Okay? So spend your day thinking about what you want in the fantasy and the joy of it. And then get into the second part of this, which is planning out your life in the next 2 to 3 years. Like, where do you want to be in the next 2 to 3 years? Because we typically don't do that kind of long-term planning. And I don't want this to be like cast in stone, but I want you to start thinking about it because it's going to start to put you on that frequency of where you really want to be in the next 2 to 3 years. And I want to leave you with this thought. There is nothing that you cannot be, do, or have in the next 2 to 3 years. Nothing. If it came to you, it's for you. If you want it, you can have it. And rest in the peace of that, right? Sound good?
Sounds great.
Thank you, Joni. No worries. It's good to have you here. Kathy, good to have you. If you guys want to talk, you know how to get to me. I will repost Bob's creation video and we'll go from there. And then I'll see you guys on Thursday morning. Okay.
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.